Yay.
Okay, we're live. I never know how to start these things.
So awkward.
So awkward about it. Yeah, I guess we'll just hang out, wait for some folks to possibly show up.
If not, it's a short little book club discussion.
Yeah, pretty much.
Testing our memories on if we remember the book.
Yeah,
I
sounds
tried to
great.
wait to read this one last so I would remember, but then we got rescheduled, so I'm like, I hope I remember.
Yeah, well, initially I wasn't going to like actually reread it. I was just like gonna kind of go off of my memory from the last time I read it because I was like, I feel like I remember it pretty well. And then my boyfriend got me a copy for my birthday, so I was like, oh, well, I'll just go ahead and reread it then.
And it's short enough too.
Yeah, like the copy I have, it actually like the text itself is actually pretty big.
Oh,
so
nice.
I like blasted through it in no time.
Yeah.
I think I finished it in 2 days.
Yeah, it's like
fast
such
for
an
me.
easy read. Yeah, it's such an easy read. I think the audiobook's only like 5 hours.
I think so.
Yeah, because I listened to the audiobook the first time.
That's how I did it this time. I mean, sometimes I read along, but mostly
Yeah, I don't own it yet, so I listened to the audiobook for the whole thing.
Oh, so you said yet? Are you gonna try and buy it now?
Yeah, I think so. I'm adding it to like my ever-growing list of books that I only listen to the audiobook and don't own a copy of for Christmas, you know?
Yeah, I have
Maybe my
too.
family will look at that list and not just ignore it.
I have one of those too. I've had to start making like separate wish lists for like different people in my family. Because last year I accidentally gave like the same Amazon wish list to my brother and my boyfriend, and both of them bought me. I don't remember what book it was, but both of them bought me one book, and I was like, "This is awkward."
That's funny.
Yeah.
My mom, I love her to death. She does tend to have this funny little quirk where I give her a list of all the books I want, and she goes and buys a book that she thinks I would like.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, no, I already vetted all the books.
Oh, yeah. I've had to train that out of my mom really fast. Because, like, after, like, 2 times where she saw me getting rid of a book she bought me, like, and I hadn't read it, it was just like, I'm sorry. I have no interest. This is why you should buy me books on my wish list.
Exactly. It's like, I love the thought. It was so, like, you research the books and stuff, but...
Exactly. It's like, I mean, the thought's so sweet, but it's taking up some necessary space on my shelf.
Last year was actually the first year I've ever received books as gifts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Were they at least good?
Oh, do what? You were talking at the same time. I don't know what you said.
Now, what'd you say?
Oh, I said, did you like them at least?
I've read most of them. And
okay.
Yeah.
That's good at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I just joke that it's like pulling teeth to get family members to buy you books for Christmas. Because they don't think it's exciting.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's like with gift cards. Like in my family, I feel like everybody's really against buying gift cards, but 9 times out of 10, it's like the most convenient thing.
It is.
Yeah, exactly.
I love a good gift card.
Yep. Also, hello to our one person in the chat.
Hello, person.
Hi. We're seeing if we can get anybody else, and then we'll start on our discussion, I suppose.
Yeah, that could be a watch back sort of video.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I guess starting nice and easy. What did you guys rate it? We could start with that.
I gave it 4 stars.
I think Copile was a 5-star for me.
Okay. I think I gave it 4.5 on my first read through, and then I just officially like marked it a 5-star on this read through. So, like, yeah. So, Randi-Lynn, without going into spoilers, what made you not give it 5 stars? Would you stay at 4?
I really don't. Okay. So I have no idea how I rate my books 5 stars because all I can say is it's a feeling, and I cannot describe that feeling even to myself. So like a 4-star is a really good book to me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like that book. Mm-hmm. I know that makes no sense, but
No, I mean, no, I kind of get you.
I get
I feel that. There's some books where it's like logically, I'll think like, okay, this isn't a 5-star, but then like, I just can't get over the feeling of it, and then it's like, okay, no, it is a 5-star.
That's exactly.
Yeah, I think I was a little backwards on this one, where like my caw pile broke down to a 5-star, and I was like, "Is it though? It says it is." So I guess I will, but like in my heart, like, am I gonna think about this book forever and ever? No.
Yeah, that's funny. I tend to have that with like lower rated books more so, where like my caw pile will come out to like a 3-star. Like I had one the other day that came out to a perfect 3-star, and I was like, no, this was not a 3-star. This is a 2-star.
Yeah, it's hard to get them to be 1-star sometimes, where you're like, I
Yeah.
hated this book. Stop giving it 3-star.
Yeah, in that case, if there's ever a book like that, it's like I'm just not even gonna bother. Like it's what I'm calling it. It is a 1-star or like a 5-star. I have some situations like that too, where it's like this didn't come out to a 5-star, but I am saying it's a 5-star. Okay, our 2 people in the chat, did you guys read it? And if so, what did you rate it? Let us know.
Oh yeah, we also have the other book that I don't think anybody read. When We Were Birds, right?
Oh, our book
Was
club.
the other option.
Oh, I couldn't get it at my library. Yeah.
I got 5 chapters and I DNF'd.
I think I don't know how far I got, but it wasn't very far. I couldn't get into it.
I couldn't either. I didn't understand what was happening. It kind
dang.
of threw you right in.
Mhm.
Oh.
Did you listen to the audiobook? Because that's what I had.
I had both. I did the audiobook and I had the ebook.
And it's not an accent that I hear often, so it took me a while to like get used to it.
Yeah.
It's very islandy. I guess
I
early in
had
Canada,
books like that, but I just didn't understand what was going on. It didn't sound anything like the description on the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like on Goodreads. It just wasn't following along what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. Okay, well, do you guys have any like basic introductory thoughts that you want to share that aren't really spoilery? I'm trying to keep like the first portion of this like non-spoilery and a lot of spoilers.
Oh, I just got your notification from Discord now. I'm like, what? I guess it's not a spoiler since it's on the very first page that he dies, but I can tell you, I was so happy when that happened.
Oh, true.
I think my favorite part about this book, just in general, was the way that it like showed the stages of abuse and like the mental thoughts that you go throughout something like that, and the way you talk yourself into it and out of it and into it and out of it, just based on the things that they promise you and they say to you. I just really liked that.
Yeah, like how the cycle of abuse was showcased.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. I actually, so like I said, I reread it. So I like tabbed it this time. And like one of my tabs was documenting like how Constanta changed throughout the book, because I thought it was interesting to see like how at first she's like so in love with him, and then eventually like she's still in love with him, but like she's starting to like realize something's not right. And then like her slow like rage that grows towards him as it goes on. And like, especially in regard to the other 2 wives, like I love how, especially when he was like cruel to them, would be where her rage would like really amplify. And those scenes are just like, oh, so freaking good.
It was like where she was seeing herself in them and like how he would do that to her. But when it's done to you, you don't necessarily objectively see what's happening.
Yeah. Or you don't think it's as big of a deal, that you're being dramatic about those things. But when you actually see it upon somebody you care about, you're like, wow, no,
like
this was bad all along.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I really liked that part.
It was so well done.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not one for like language. We know this. I don't really care about fancy words, but this one really got me. Just the way everything was so descriptive and just felt so real. Like I could see everything that was being said.
Yeah, Gibson's writing is like absolutely beautiful. I mean, this is the only book of hers that I've read, but like I love her writing in it, and it's just so lush and like it creates such a perfect ambiance for the story.
It was so moody.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's so true.
Just had me like, I played it like a movie in my head. I was so just like, ugh.
That's the best one.
I got it finally.
Yeah. All right. Well, any other final thoughts before we hop into spoilery bits?
I mean, I kind of liked. I know we talked about how short it was, and I kind of liked that it was that short, just because it spanned such a long time period. That if we were to make it longer, it would become really, really repetitive.
Mhm.
And so I kind of liked that they made the choice to, keep it concise, yet cover a very large breadth of time and events.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a good choice.
Yeah, agreed. I think it like helped with the pacing of the story overall, especially since it does like span such a long period of time. It could have become, like you said, really repetitive and just dragged a lot.
Yeah.
It also fit the way that it was told too, because it's like a letter after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to remember every single detail of so many years, so it kind of fit the way it was written too.
That's true.
Yeah, which is kind of a great transition into my first question, which was like, how did y'all feel about like the epistolary setup?
It's actually one of my favorite styles of writing. I love things written in letters or diary entries or things like that. So I loved it, and like we just said, I think it really helped get into Constance's mind, like immediately know who she was and what she was thinking and feeling.
Yeah.
I also like the like tie-in that it has with like the original like Dracula book too.
I read it. Wouldn't know.
All of that's written in like
Okay.
Diary entries, journal entries.
Yeah, I've seen this thing. I want to do it one year, but I always forget about it. But I've seen this thing advertised where like you start the book as like it's like emailed to you in the sections of like, how do I explain this? So Dracula's broken down like obviously with dates on journal entries, and like you start the book on the first day that is listed in the book of Dracula, and they like email you that section. And so like as you move forward, like every day they email you like that portion of the book each day, so you like read it throughout. I think it's like 2 or 3 months, but it's just like it's such an interesting idea, and I really want to try reading it sometime, because like I just feel like that would be a lot easier because it's just like little snippets, but then at the same time, like it's almost happening every single day. So like it keeps you in the story as you're going.
That's kind of cool.
Oh, that's really cool. I hadn't heard of that.
Yeah, I'll try and find it and see if I can like, I'll send it in the Discord, but it is a really cool idea that somebody came up with. So like, and I thought the exact same thing, that I thought it was really cool how Gibson tied it to the original of Dracula by doing that setup. But I also love that by utilizing it, she's able to do the thing where it starts at the end, but then like backtracks. Because I really like books whenever they do that, where it showcases you the ending, and then it's like, how the heck did we get here? And I think it like was just done so perfectly to evoke like so many emotions throughout the story.
I agree.
All right.
That was perfectly said. I wish I had words.
So how did you guys feel about like the characterization of the vampires in this compared to like other vampire stories?
I liked that they were real vampires and not sparkly Nancy.
I love that was the example you went with. Yes.
The way I totally forgot that Twilight existed, and I was like, oh yeah, they're kind of like the originals. The Vampires Diaries world. That's where I go with vampires, never Twilight.
I love that. So for me, like the reason I asked this question is because I kind of like started picking up on some connections between Interview with the Vampire and this, with like certain characters. And so I was like, that's kind of interesting. And then it made me think about like the difference in how the vampires themselves are written, because like Dracula telling them how he can be the only one to turn other people into vampires because he's like so old and so powerful and all this, but like we don't necessarily know if that's the truth or not, or if that was just like a manipulation tactic.
With him, with this particular story, I'd say it was. I'd bet on manipulation, but again, we don't know.
Yeah, especially with how tight he had his rein on everything, that he
Yeah.
wanted to control everything they did.
Yeah, exactly. And then actually it was kind of interesting. So there's technically like, I guess it's a short story that's an epilogue bit. I'm trying to remember what it was called. Encore Roses, I think. And it's like through 𝗖cie perspective. And you get to see like how they've changed. And it's not like specified what time it is, but it's like definitely a much more modern time period. And you kind of see how like Constanta has ended up turning people. And like, yeah, it was kind of interesting seeing how like, because she was the eldest, she kind of like became the most powerful, but technically like 𝗖cie and Magdalena were like equally as powerful too.
Yeah. Was that in the book?
So my edition has it like at the end, but I think you can find it online. It's on Goodreads and everything. It was like 14 pages. It is very much like, here's a little bit more plot. Oh, and then here's like some Polly smut. And I was just like, good time, let's go.
Okay, I need to find
It has
this.
the same edition, and I listened to the end of it. So now I'm looking through my book to see if I have that. Well, I saw it listed on Goodreads. That's how I learned about it.
Yeah. And I also learned on Goodreads whenever I saw that, that technically she's writing I guess it's probably not considered a sequel, but it's like a book also set in this universe. That's a Carmilla retelling.
An Education in Malice.
Yeah, that one. That's coming out next year. And it's like, oh, I'm very excited for that.
Should we add that to the Story Continued book club?
I would love that.
Okay, perfect. I will add that to our agenda.
That's great. I love it. Perfect, actually. Yeah.
It continues.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, I also thought it was interesting how like Gibson had them almost experience like bloodlust anytime like blood was how do I say this? Anytime anyone bled in front of them, there we go. That sounds better.
Yeah.
They like would almost go feral for it. That was like super funky. I can't remember like another book where that
Especially
always
like,
elicited that reaction.
Yeah, Twilight.
Did it? I never read Twilight, to be fair. So like,
yeah. Anytime blood came about, like some of them could like lose control.
Okay, gotcha.
But it was interesting to me that they like Dracula's blood too, where it wasn't just like human blood, like his blood also kind of like had that reaction, or even like when they turned each other,
Mm-hmm.
or like when the following wives were turned.
Yeah,
like, feeding off of each other was interesting.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at least like outside of the turning process, because I feel like that's I'm saying this based on like Buffy and Angel. That was like an included part in the turning process, was like they would have to feed on the person and then the person feed on them. But like, yeah, that it was kind of unexpected that she wrote them that way.
Yeah.
It was kind of similar to like the Vampire Diaries shows. I don't know if it's different in the books, where you would have to consume vampire blood and have that in your system and then die is how you would become a vampire. So it was similar like in the turning process in my mind.
Oh,
but yeah, like feeding on each other was interesting.
Yes.
This is showcasing to me that I clearly like don't know enough about vampire, like nowadays vampire stories. Like I never watched Vampire Diaries or okay, I've seen the first Twilight movie, but that was it.
I think in Dracula too, it was something similar.
Okay.
Where like if a vampire, like I don't know if it was like their venom was in you and then you died, like you would then come back as a vampire. I don't know if they had to drink any blood or consume any vampire blood to become the vampire, but I think that's how it worked in Dracula.
Oh, okay. There you go then. And then I can't help pointing this bit out because I think it's fantastic how Dracula's name is like literally never used in the entire book. It's so good.
Thing.
I love that tidbit so much, and it's just so impactful, especially like when you realize that she is like taking away the power he has by doing that. It's like, oh, it's so good.
And erasing him from the story, from all of their all of their story. It's so good.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part too. It really is. It's just so like powerful that they can be the ones to have their own name. They sacrifice so much, and it's like, haha, after you're dead, no one will remember you. Like, not even us. We won't even speak of you.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I really liked that.
The ultimate revenge.
I also thought it was interesting. So, like, I think I made a note of it in my book. I have to find it. Constanta's name itself was like interesting to me because I was wondering what, like, because he picked the name for her, and I was like, I wonder like if they explain why. Okay, I'm not gonna be able to find it now, I swear. Okay, here we go. Because and I like looked it up out of curiosity, and it's one of the longest inhabited European cities. So I thought that was interesting. Gibson's part in naming her.
Yeah, because it kind of ties back to how old he is, that he would recognize a place that's been around for as long as him, probably.
Yeah, and then maybe like also just the fact of after Dracula's eliminated from the situation, she's probably the longest living vampire then.
That too, yeah.
Yeah.
The part that like actually shocked me was when she also found out that he had multiple other people before her, where she had the whole time thought that she was the first.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that I remember jumping out to me. Like, my heart broke for her too when she realized she thought he was like her savior from everything that happened to her when her whole her village, her whole town had been.
Yeah.
I'm confusing a couple books.
No, you're right. When her whole town was massacred.
Okay, that's what it is.
Yes.
And so he was the savior, and then to find out that like, oh, he's been lying this whole time. He's just been like saying what I wanted to say. He's had so many other wives and husbands or whatever beforehand.
Yeah, I thought whenever it was like revealed about Magdalena that he had been speaking to her for like such a long time, and like the betrayal Constanta felt there was like so interesting, but then at the same time, like she's also lusting after Magdalena, so like it was a little different, but yeah.
How did we feel about like those romances, like with Magdalena and 𝗖cie? Like, do you feel like they were real, or do you feel like it was just like a product of their circumstances and like needing affection from somebody around them?
I'm thinking that had a lot to do with it, and at least that's what I felt when I was reading it, that they were all stuck in this horrible situation with each other with no one but themselves because he wouldn't allow it. So it's like you latch on to what you can get when you can get it, kind of thing.
I definitely think like that played a part in it. For both of them, like when Constanta first meets them, it definitely seems like it's very much like a lust-based thing. And then eventually I do feel like agreed with Randi-Lynn, like that they find comfort in like the one place they can, which is with each other, especially when he starts like isolating them from society more and more as like the book goes on. I did think it was interesting, like not interesting, but like uncomfy, I'll put it that way, how her relationship is with 𝗖cie, because it's like strangely romantic but also maternal.
Yeah.
That's the main one that just it's like a bit of a stretch for me, but I do like her and Magdalena because I really like, and this goes back to what I was saying with Interview with the Vampire, because I can definitely see Constanta being like the Louis and then Magdalena being the Lestat kind of character, where like Magdalena, you know, like has fun killing and she's very brilliant and like very sociable and all this, but like if she isn't able to do all these things, she kind of like just broods, whereas Constanta is like constantly just kind of down in the dumps, like on like sad and struggling with her position and also feeling separated from the unit, like the family unit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like, that's why I really like those two in particular, because they're like such opposites, but they even each other out very well.
They do.
But then with 𝗖cie, I don't know. It's just
𝗖cie was weird.
dynamic so much. Like, yeah.
But yeah, I do think it. I don't know if. Sorry, words are hard. Was Magdalena and like Constanza, were they a little bit rivals at one point, or am I mixing it up with another book? Like, were they?
I mean, kind of like
thought she was a rival,
Okay.
but I think they ended up their friendship. I think ended up being true. I would say their friendship is
I
true.
feel like that's what stuck out to me for a little while, where I was like, are they just lusting after each other because it's like this hate relationship that they had at the beginning? Like, I didn't know if I could actually believe that they had a romance together. But then 𝗖cie came in, and I was like, oh, wait, what is the dynamic here? How do they all kind of...
Yeah, and like I hated the way that Dracula would refer to them like as sisters, and it's just like
Yes.
I mean, it's already, I don't know, the
Especially
like,
in the
maternal
sexual-
thing with 𝗖cie was like one thing, but then like actively calling them sisters was just like, ooh.
Yeah, didn't we do it a couple times, like when they were actually like together?
Yeah.
And that was very awkward.
Hmm.
But I think that was also like a power move on his part too, to like, look at what I can make you do. Like,
Yeah, definitely.
he was a mess, but she wrote that mess so well.
True.
It was very accurate because I was just like so angry at him the whole time.
Yes, it was so satisfying.
It was. Really, really was.
Yeah, fully agree on that. Especially like the moment where he's like, oh, you're like, I love you. Let's just forget about this. And she's like, no.
That's gonna happen. Let's burn you down.
Yes. I loved that they all band together on it as well. And it wasn't like one of them trying to push it on the other ones. They were all like, yeah, I think we need to get rid of this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I was waiting for the book to tie into the original Dracula story, though, and I don't feel like it ever did with like the events that happened in that, or if that was just all in like the background. It was kind of like Dracula doing his own thing, like he liked to do, and I don't know if they were like meant to be fully connected, or if it was just an interpretation of the characters.
Yeah, I mean, from what I know, like I know when I've looked up Dracula's wives, like the names don't match or anything, and like we don't see nearly as much of them in other pieces of media. I don't know where else it's really like showcased. But from what I know about Dracula, like I haven't read it either, but like from what I know, I guess it's more of an interpretation of it. Kind of like, this seems so weird to compare it to because it's very different, like love. But I don't know why. The way Dracula is written in the book, all I can think is like the Dracula from the anime Castlevania. But like in that, he's so like, I'll burn the world down for the woman I love kind of thing. So it's like very different. But I don't know why that's like the way he's written at times. Because like, even though he's terrible and abusive and manipulative, like Gibson also just has such a way of writing him where it's like you can feel that he's still so charismatic and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aren't they always?
I know.
True. Yeah.
They don't let you know the red flags.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I feel like in the original Dracula, there's only like one scene where you get a glimpse of the wives, maybe like a couple or maybe two, where you see them at all in the castle. And that's why I was like waiting for a moment where you would see that little tiny crossover. But
well, I guess in a way, because they were made to stay in the castle and he got to go out and have people see him and not the wives, that was kind of a Dracula original kind of tie-in. Maybe not direct, but
yeah, it's a good thought process. Mm-hmm.
I know, I feel like I'd have to go back, reread it, double check if it was there or not. But I won't go back and reread Dracula. Not going to happen. That was an experience.
I guess the one other thing I really had a note to talk about was kind of like the roles that each of the wives played, like in the family unit. was kind of interesting how Constanta talked about like whenever Dracula was in a mood, she would be like invisible to him as a way to deal with it, versus like Magdalena sweet talked him, and then like 𝗖cie would just kind of like pour gasoline on the fire.
Yes. And sometimes I don't know if they never got 𝗖cie, if they would have ever banded together and ended it. Like, I feel like it was 𝗖cie butting heads with him so much and like pointing out all the things he's doing wrong that really made the girls realize it as well, and kind of, think like, maybe this isn't right.
And just seeing how young he was too, I think triggered things for them that they were like, wow, he just lost his entire life to go into this where we're told we have to live in one place. We can't move around, and we have to stay with this one person. We can't venture and go on adventures without permission. And I think he really was the spearhead for everything. And then him being the one to fight back all the time.
Yeah.
I think that helped.
I think it showed that they could, I guess.
Yeah. I feel like Dracula would have done better if he just had Constanza, because he would have just had somebody who just took all of the abuse.
Yeah, like she might not have ever
the level.
That whole gluttonous thing about him.
Yeah.
Was his ruin.
And it was his own downfall.
He
kept wanting more, and he just kept adding people who would fight back more and more.
Yeah. And I think like 𝗖cie being so young is really interesting from like a like Gothicism, that sounds weird, a Gothic writing style perspective of it, because he's very much like the innocent character initially, but then it's so interesting, like even once he's turned, like the girls still treat him as an innocent, but like he himself definitely is not, because he's constantly pushing back against Dracula and like causing issues and trying to like go have parties and stuff and like trying to steal from Dracula and things like that. I thought that was very interesting from like a Gothic writing standpoint of how he like initially perfectly matches the archetype, and then like once we see more of him, it like flips it on its head.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know how to expand on this thought, but I thought their sexuality as a whole was really interesting on how that was like included throughout the story, just like how blood kind of equaled the lust that they felt, how a lot of their time spent together was all built on their relationships in the bedroom, and like how everyone was connected in that way so strongly. I don't like know how else to expand upon it, but I just thought that was a really interesting aspect to the book that if I had a literary brain, I feel like it would be more important than just like, oh, that was interesting how
they
were bonded.
Perfect. I think it, that's pretty much all they had to do all day, though. Like,
true.
What are they gonna do?
That's so true. Like, I guess it's probably a good thing they were dead, because Lord have mercy, otherwise they'd have so many children.
Right?
Yeah, like Jesus. I guess like it could be interesting to talk about how with it vampires have become like such a, sounds weird to say, like a sexual topic. Not topic, but
like an icon.
Yes, thank you. Like a sexual icon almost. And so I guess it kind of like ties in with that it would be such an important part of their relationship. But then, like I was saying earlier, their relationships all seem to start very lust-based.
Yeah.
So then it's kind of like interesting to see how, even though they're still crazy about each other in that way, their relationships like become so much more solidified, I guess, because of it.
Yeah. And part of it also is like tattered, because that's all they have with like Dracula too.
It may also be, when we think of at least traditional vampires needing, they're pretty much unsatiable in blood and whatnot, and so it would make sense to, if they have blood within those sexual relationships, that it kind of feeds into one another.
Yeah. And it's the way they like lure people into. It's just always so interesting that that's how vampires are portrayed. Like it's not just like charisma. I can just talk to you and become your friend and then like take your blood that way. It's always very lust based of
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Seduction.
I actually have a fun webcomic I could recommend you that does the opposite of that page where like the guy yeah, I do actually. It's a very cute and it's a queer rom-com, but like one character is a vampire and he initially is just like, I'll pay you and feed you because you can't feed yourself. You're a poor lowly college student and then you give me your blood. And like very slowly they become friends and then eventually like develop a relationship. It's very cute.
I need it.
I'll send you the link. It's really adorable.
That's so cute.
But I was also going to say another thing that I thought was interesting. And again, like, I don't know why my brain was suddenly like Interview with the Vampire, all these connections to it.
No, I can definitely see it.
I'm glad I'm not like one part that I thought was interesting is in Anne Rice's universe, she says something along the lines of like vampires actually can die of boredom because like they just don't have anything else to live for. And so I thought that was interesting how often it was brought up that like Constanta was talking about Dracula's obsession with science and like utilizing it as a passion just to kind of like give him something to do.
To live
And
for.
so I guess like the wives didn't really have anything like that. So that just kind of reinforced their clinging to one another as like something they could take care of or like work on.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, and like Magdalena kind of had the same issue where like she got really depressed until they got alexi's.
Yeah.
And then like
Until they got alexi's like a dog.
that's I know that I was saying like he's a puppy.
I thought it was.
They like
But they did.
embraced-
They got him like a puppy. He was just a little.
Yeah, like he was entertainment for her essentially, like
Mhm.
to start out with, but then he ends up becoming like so much more important for also
Like a real dog.
yeah, like because that's what it like take care of him.
Yeah. Water him, feed him.
Oh my god, I love it.
I think we
forgot
could
about
take
the
it.
science stuff. I forgot like any part of Dracula because it was like, ew, Dracula. I don't care. But it was the part where the town was dying of some plague and he
Mhm.
just wanted to like study
Mm-hmm.
the science and not help them, but they thought that he was going to help. That was pretty intense too.
Yeah, that was. I definitely thought that scene was like pretty hardcore and really showcased like how selfish he was because I
Yeah.
mean, even if you think about it, like that would have been dangerous to them as well. Like not just because, well, not because like they would catch bubonic plague or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was, but like you know, it's eliminating their food source.
Yeah, that's what I was,
Like,
I was
and he
thinking.
just doesn't even like consider that. He's just like, oh well, you know, we need to leave so we can get away from the plague, but like at the same time, I want to study this. And it's like
Yeah.
never once does he consider the fact of how it's like really affecting their livelihood.
Yeah.
Because helping people was just so below him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's terrible. The worst.
Ugh. But I mean, I guess he had unlimited resources, so he's like, "We'll just go to the next place and find somebody else to eat." So,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Which that was something I actually kind of appreciated Gibson for acknowledging was like at like towards the end of the book that they were like running out of money.
Mm.
And like that their house was like becoming more dilapidated and all. I thought that was interesting. And it also kind of like I guess you could argue is like a mirror to their relationship
Mm-hmm.
because it's like breaking down at the same time. Literary stuff.
She's so good. I
She
need to read more.
we just
Makes me want to study this in school.
Oh my god, dude, I wish we could have studied books like this in school. This would have been so interesting.
It's so good to like pair it with actually like, yeah, we have to read Dracula, but then like finding connections. Ugh,
Yeah, I'm sure like most teenagers couldn't handle. They'd be like, "Oh my god, there's sex."
yeah, right? Just laughing the whole time. That would be completely banned in high school.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and then I guess the last thing I just wanted to reiterate was I love Constanta's rage so much,
Yeah.
and like the building of it is just delicious.
Yeah, just
I'm
watching him.
meat to a dragon.
Mm-hmm. Letting him burn at the end too.
Oh yeah, I mean, I thought that was pretty fantastic. Where like, I remember when I was first reading it through that I was so shocked by the fact that like she ended up taking his body and like giving it to the villagers and being like, do with it what you will.
Yeah.
I just thought that was so hardcore. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially seeing as how obviously like throughout the book you can see she's like still struggling, like looking back on their relationship and all, but like she didn't even bury him or anything. It's just like, oh, it's so hardcore.
It's like one of those like when a woman's done, she's done.
Mm-hmm.
She'd been checking out for a while, and then it was like, oh, we're rid of him now.
True.
Yes. But I guess it was also sort of a thing to save themselves, give them time to get out.
Yeah, that's true.
I need to read this like
Which is
novella.
exactly what he would have did to them. So
Yeah. Yeah, the novella was cute. Like I said, it was like it kind of expands on just like, oh, what more is like happening for these three and like their lives and stuff. But then at the same time, it's like a spicy good time.
I just looked, and mine doesn't have it. I just have the first chapter
It's a good time.
of Education in Malice.
Oh, you just said that, and like I'm just now noticing that mine has that. I never noticed that before. But yes, def recommend, and hopefully now we can get an Education in Malice for one of our picks next year because I would love that.
Oh, I will make it happen.
Gives me an excuse to read it.
Yeah, it's just gonna happen. Don't you worry.
Well, any final thoughts?
I think
I love it.
we're good. It was a good pick. I'm glad we did it.
It was a good pick.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how this new one for November goes.
Yes.
Yes.
Furiously happy, right?
Furiously happy.
Or
Yeah.
is it furiously happy? Because there's a raccoon on the cover.
No, it is furiously happy. I love the covers for her books though, because like her dad was a taxidermist, and so she like keeps that trend throughout all of her book covers that I've noticed, and I find it so cute.
Is this like a memoir kind of book?
I think so. I think it's maybe not so much. Yeah, I guess memoir would probably be a good, like either memoir or like essays about her life and stuff. Because she has a few books now, and like they're all talking about like her personal life and like struggles and experiences she's had, but then they're like very comedy focused also. I mean, I'm very intrigued to see people's thoughts on it because I really enjoyed her first book. I thought it was like really ridiculous and funny, but then like the one other person I know who's read it like absolutely hated it. Okay. They like could not stand her comedy style. And so I'm very interested to see everybody's thoughts on it.
I'm a little nervous because usually when books try to be funny, they're not. So
I think she reads the audiobook.
okay.
I'm not sure. I didn't listen to the audio for the previous one, but maybe that'll help with this one. I don't know. Sometimes that helps me, so maybe it'll help you.
And it'll be on your channel, right, Randi-Lynn, the live discussion?
Yes, unless someone else wants to take it. I'm good.
No, not me.
Okay.
We're sticking with your schedule. It's very helpful.
I was going to say, you made the schedule. You're in charge, girl.
Yeah. You claimed it. It's yours. I can take December.
Okay. All right. Then yes. I will try and make notes so that I can be as good of a host as that.
Yeah, I know. You set the bar too high now.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
To be fair, I was very nervous to come on here and just have like nothing to say. So.
I mean, lesbian vampires. We could have just chatted forever.
Yeah.
Fair enough, honestly. They are a good time.
I've been trying to sell all of my friends on this book, so it was a good one.
It
was your pick, right? Your pick?
No, I think it was
Serena's,
it was Serena's.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Because I was like really excited.
Stamp of approval.
Yeah, I was really excited it was her pick. And so I was like, oh, I'll do the little spinner to see which one it is. And then it turned out being that one. And I was like, I promise I didn't cheat. Like this happened naturally. because I thought that was so ridiculous. Whenever it happened, I was like, they're definitely going to think I rigged this.
None of my books got picked. I was bummed.
Mine either. I think this month yours is picked, right, Nat?
Yeah, mine was Furiously Happy because I have it on my shelves. So I was like, this is an excuse. And it's nonfiction, and it's nonfiction November. So I was like, I'll just make this like hit a few nails on the head.
Yes.
I love it.
I have it from the library. I will read it as soon as I'm done with the one I'm on, probably.
Off the top of your head, do you know when the date is for the live show?
The 28th. I have Discord up. I think it's on the 26th. Is whatever the last Sunday is.
Okay. So the weekend after.
Information the 26th.
Okay. 26, whatever time it's scheduled for.
I have it right now. I have it at 2:00 Eastern time, but I can always change that.
Okay.
So, is that okay with you guys? Because I have a feeling it'll just be us again.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay, because I know we're all in different time zones. So,
if anything comes up, we'll let you know.
Yeah. Okay.
All
right. Thank you, friends.
Well,
thank you for hosting that.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for hanging out and doing this discussion. Thank you to our wonderful watchers and any people who watch this back. Leave some comments with your thoughts and your ratings. And hopefully we will see y'all next month.
Yes.